All right, morning, guys. Some of you might be familiar with this man. You can often find him on Pearl Street Mall, fitting himself into a box just like this one. It's really pretty amazing to watch, and from what I understand, he actually makes a pretty good living. But what's the practical purpose? Is he going to ship himself somewhere? As a species, we have this unique desire to have a greater impact on the world around us than our own 2 square feet of space. Fitting in a box isn't nothing, but what kind of impact does it have? My oldest son is in kindergarten. He currently has one goal in life. It's all he talks about. He wants to be a superstar. When you enter his classroom, there's a box drawn on the whiteboard. That's for the superstars. On any given day, there will be between 3 and 6 students out of 22 in the box. You get in the box by being quiet while eating, using an indoor voice, and raising your hand to speak. If you do the opposite, your name gets written outside the box, and you have time on the wall. We have a box here at our high school, too. Our superstar box is not based on being quiet or using an indoor voice, although it doesn't hurt. Our superstars can perfectly answer SAT questions and write a lovely 5-paragraph essay with exactly 5 to 7 sentences per paragraph. Unless they're in Ross's class, and then it's 12 to 15. Our superstars keep their heads down, respect authority, and thank us for our lessons. But not all our students are box people. We often have to push, pull, and drag them into the box. What's more, whenever we reflect on what it takes to be a successful student, nobody mentions these traits. We want critical thinkers, citizens of the world, people who think outside the box. Inside the box, many of our students fail, and they don't mind. They have an excuse. They're not box people. The box does not matter to them. But by working outside the box, we empower our students to overcome that failure. When we think of people who have changed the world, when we think how our students can impact the community around them, when we think about what is at the core of what we do, it's often at odds with what is expected. While we may be judged by scores, they do not define us. And we may be evaluated by a rubric, but it does not measure us. What we want for our students cannot be assessed through talent, rote practice, or national models of proficiency. It's like taking your car in for a wash and being upset they didn't change the oil, replace the belts, and top off the gas tank. We always are wanting our students to think outside the box because that is the path to success. That is how they will be able to change the world. But are we giving them the opportunities? We all know people who have failed to reach their potential. The person who can recite every single one of Shakespeare's sonnets but doesn't know why they matter. The person who knows all the facts and details about the Civil War but fails to understand why they're still important today. Great achievement is much less about talent than it is about learning, opportunity, and growth. As educators, we're at a crossroads. The outside world judges our collective success by what takes place in the box. Standardized test scores and content proficiency often dictate our day. We use highly scaffolded lessons and intentionally written rubrics to ensure our students hit the necessary benchmarks. But are we giving them an opportunity to learn, to grow? What happens when the scaffolds are taken away? What happens when there is no rubric? In other words, the real world. At a recent 5-year-old birthday party, the parents were all discussing the competency of the teacher. As you can imagine, the discussion was very box-centric. And there were concerns about noise level, students running in the classroom, and the catastrophe that was the Christmas concert. When evaluating the teacher's ability, not a single parent talked about interpersonal relationships, problem solving, or the amazing creativity that was shown on projects displayed in the classroom. Despite the box being labeled a superstar, that's not what was being evaluated. To get in the box, you had to be a square. When we talk about what we want from our students, it's grit, risk-taking, innovation, creativity, and not only not being afraid to fail, but knowing how to overcome that failure and finding new success. And no matter how we are judged, these must be our goals. This is what we must teach our students. These are the opportunities. We have to present them. And the only way to do it is to put learning in their hands. Some years ago, the Heinz Corporation conducted a study. If you're old enough, you might remember the old ketchup bottles. You know, the ones you could never get ketchup out of? You had to hit the bottle just right on the 57 stamp. Or if you were a kid, you had to ask mom and dad for help. Then came the easy squeeze bottle. Getting ketchup on your plate was no longer an exercise in futility, and as anybody with a 5-year-old knows, now kids get their own ketchup in ungodly quantities on everything they eat. Heinz saw a 12% increase in ketchup consumption with the new bottle. kids were using more ketchup and using it on every type of food they ate. We often make education like the old ketchup bottle. We feel like we have to keep smacking the box to get out what we want. And often, only a little comes out at a time. If we want our students to be superstars, we cannot continue hitting the side of the box and hoping the right amount of education comes out. Like the old ketchup bottles. When Heinz had this problem, they didn't tell people, smack the bottle harder. They made a new bottle. If we want people to think outside the box, maybe it's time we change the box. If we start to put education in our students' hands and include innovation, risk-taking, creativity, grit, and overcoming failure, we can make a superstar.